The auction was almost over. Alien buyers from many worlds had already taken their new slaves. Loud music, bright lights, and the sound of laughter filled the large metal hall. Strong warriors, smart workers, and beautiful slaves all sold. The place smelled of oil, fear, and old blood. Now, only one slave remained. She sat in a cold, dark cage in the corner. Her skin was pale, almost gray. Her bones showed through her thin body. She was small, weak, and shaking. Her hair was dirty and long, hiding her eyes. She did not cry. She had forgotten how. The auctioneer, a fat alien with 4 eyes, spoke loudly. Last item of the day. Don't expect much. This one is useless. She doesn't talk. She doesn't work. Maybe good for practice or experiments. The crowd laughed. One alien shouted, I'll take her for free just to feed my dog. But even that was a joke. Number 1 really wanted her. She pulled her knees close and looked down. Her people were gone. Her planet was destroyed in the war. She was the last of her kind. No name, no value. No hope. The auctioneer banged his hammer. Starting bid, 100 credits. Silence. 50 credits. Nothing. Come on. 10 credits. Still no hands raised. The auctioneer growled. 1 credit. Just 1 credit. Anybody? Silence again. He sighed. Fine. Throw her out with the trash. Guards started, moving toward her cage. Then, a single voice spoke from the back. I'll take her. Everyone turned. A tall human man stood near the wall. He wore a long black coat. His face was calm, but his eyes looked serious. He didn't blink. The auctioneer blinked with surprise. You, a human, buying her? The man walked forward slowly. She's mine now, he said. He dropped a single credit chip on the table. Laughter exploded in the hall. You paid for that. Thing? What are you going to do with her? She's broken. She's not even worth a collar. But the human ignored them. He walked to the cage and looked at the girl inside. Her eyes met his for the first time. Cold, empty, afraid, she thought. Another master, maybe worse than the others. Maybe he'll use me until I die. The human opened the cage. She didn't move. She waited for pain, but nothing came. He held out a small blanket. Come, he said softly. She hesitated, then slowly reached for the blanket. Her hands were shaking. He helped her stand. She almost fell, but he caught her gently. The hall grew quiet as they walked out. Together, outside, the cold air hit her face. She expected chains. She expected to be pushed, but the man said nothing. Just guided her toward a small ship parked near the landing bay. Inside, the ship was clean. Warm, simple. He showed her a small room with a bed, a soft light, and a bottle of water. She looked around, confused. Sit. Rest, he said, then left the room. She sat on the bed slowly. It had been years since she touched anything soft. Her hands clutched the blanket tightly. Her eyes stayed on the door. Was this a trick? Why did he not hurt her? Why did he pay for her? No one wanted her, not even for free. She remembered the last words her mother said before the soldiers came. You are not weak, you are light. Stopped believing that long ago. Now, this strange human, Was he a new master? Or something different? Hours passed. She didn't sleep. Then the door opened. He stood there holding a small tray. Food, warm. Real food. He placed it near her and turned away. She stared at the food. Could she trust it? Her stomach ached. Slowly she took a bite. Tears ran down her cheeks, not because of pain, but because the food tasted kind. For the first time in years, she felt something strange. Not fear, not hate. Hope asterisk. The girl sat on the soft bed still. Holding the empty food tray, her hands were clean now. Her face no longer had dirt, but the sadness had not left. She didn't know the human's name. She didn't know what he wanted, but he hadn't touched her, hadn't chained her, hadn't yelled once. That was strange. In the galaxy, humans were rare. Some called them dangerous, some called them kind. But most just didn't trust them. This one was silent. too silent. He spoke only when needed. Simple words, quiet voice, that scared her even more. Why did he really buy me? She thought. The girl stayed in her small room all day. She didn't speak. She barely moved. But she watched him carefully. Spent most of his time fixing things. The ship was old but strong. He cleaned it every day, repaired wires, updated software. Sometimes, he would look out the window, like he was thinking of someone far away. Every evening, he placed food near her door. Then he walked away. No questions, no commands. One night she finally asked herself, is he lonely? She didn't understand him, but something about him felt empty, like her. Then came the storm. A strange sound woke her in the middle of the night, a deep thud. Then a loud groan. She opened the door and peeked into the hallway. He was lying on the floor, blood on his side. A metal pipe had fallen from the ship's ceiling. This must have hit him. She stood frozen. She could run now, steal the ship, escape, but her feet didn't move. She ran to him instead. His face was pale. He was losing blood fast. Her hands shook, but she remembered the slave med training. She ran to the first aid box on the wall. She pressed the cloth to his side, cleaning the wound. His eyes opened just a little. You, he whispered. She didn't speak. He smiled weakly, thought you'd run. Still she stayed silent. She worked for hours, stopping the bleeding. Then she sat beside him. That night, she didn't sleep. She watched him breathe, watched his chest rise and fall. For the first time, she wanted someone to live. By morning, he opened his eyes again. Slowly, carefully. You're still here? He asked softly. She nodded, thank you. Her lips opened. She wanted to ask something, but the words were stuck. Then finally, a whisper escaped her mouth. Why? The human blinked. Why? What? Why did you buy me? He sat up with effort, wincing in pain. You were left behind, he said. She looked away. I'm broken, she whispered. I'm not useful. He shook his head slowly. Oh, no one is useless. Not even broken things. She didn't believe him. But the way he said it didn't sound like a lie. He stood up and reached for a drawer. Pulled out a small object, a music chip. He placed it on the table. Music filled the room. Soft, gentle. Something old, your people, he said, had beautiful songs. Heard them once, during the war. They didn't deserve what happened. Her hands touched the music chip. Her fingers shook. Tears fell down her cheeks. She had forgotten her people's voices. Later that day, the ship's alert went off. Warning, external signal detected. Unknown vessel approaching. The human quickly walked to the control room. She followed silently. The screen showed a dark ship, black, with no lights. No name, no ID. Slave hunters, the human said. Her eyes widened. They scan old auction routes, looking for escaped or unsold ones. She stepped back. Fear covered her face. I can hide you, he said, but they may board us. Her lips moved again. I don't want you to get hurt, he looked at her. You already saved me once. Then he opened a secret panel on the floor, a small hidden compartment. Go in now. She nodded and climbed inside. He closed the panel. Darkness silenced her. Breath was fast. Her heart beat hard. She could hear the enemy ship docking, heavy boots, doors opening, voices, alien voices. One of them shouted, "We're scanning for Class 17 DNA." She froze. That was her. The human walked out to meet them. You alone? Alien asked. Just me? The human replied. You picked up anything from the slave markets? No, I came late. They were already closed. Let us scan the ship. He smiled. Of course. She listened from below. Footsteps, scanners, metal boots, voices so close. Then silence. Then beeps her. There's a reading. She closed her eyes. Footsteps moved toward her then. The panel above her head opened suddenly. Light poured in. But it wasn't a slaver. It was him, the human. He whispered, Come now. She climbed out quickly, her body tense and her breath fast. What happened? She asked softly. He shut the panel and checked the hallway, then turned to her. They scanned half the ship, but I rerouted the signal. It fooled their tech. She stared at him. They didn't find me? No, but they'll come back. Next time they'll tear this ship apart. She bit her lip. Her voice was shaking. I'm putting you in danger. He looked at her. You didn't ask for any of this. Silence fell between them for a moment. Only the hum of the ship could be heard. Then she whispered, Why do you care? He didn't answer at first. He just sat down slowly, holding his side. The wound from before was still healing. Then he said something that surprised her. I once lost someone too. Her eyes moved to his. He looked tired now. Not from pain, but from memory. She was taken during the war. Just a child. By the same people who enslaved your kind. There was no anger in his voice, just a quiet storm behind his eyes. She looked a bit like you. Later that night, the girl sat on the floor outside his room, hugging her knees. She couldn't sleep. She remembered being taken from her village, the burning sky, the screams, the chains. She had buried those memories deep, but now they were coming back slowly, painfully. She heard a soft noise, a groan. She rushed into the room and saw the human trembling in bed. His wound was bleeding again. He had tried to get up, but had fallen, without thinking. She grabbed the med kit again, but this time her hands were steady. He looked up at her, surprised. You're not afraid anymore? She shook her head. You're not like the others. It cleaned the wound, applied the sealant, and then covered it. He winced but didn't stop her. You're good at this. He said, I was trained, she replied, her voice low. Slaves were taught to keep masters alive. He frowned. That's not what you're doing now. She stayed quiet, then asked, What's your name? He looked at her and gave a faint smile. Rayanne? Anne. She repeated it softly. Rayanne. Is about yours? He asked. Her eyes lowered. I don't remember. They erased it. He nodded slowly then. We'll find you a new one. The next day, Rayanne guided her to the cockpit. Stars stretched out across the black window like silver dust. He pointed to a small green planet in the distance. There's an old contact of mine there, a scientist. She might help us remove the tracker inside you. Her eyes widened. You know about the tracker? He nodded. I found the signal pattern last night. Then, you should have left me, she whispered. Rayanne shook his head. That's not who I am. Suddenly, the ship's alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Another signal. The girl said, heart racing. Rayanne scanned the screen. His face turned cold. It's not a slaver ship this time. She stepped closer. Then who? Rayanne stared at the readings. It's a bounty hunter, and he's not here for you. He's here for me. Confused, she asked, Why would someone hunt you? Rayanne turned slowly. I've done things. In the war, things I regret. Now, someone wants payment. Are you dangerous? She asked softly. He didn't answer directly. I don't hurt the weak. I never have. She believed him, but that didn't change the fact they were being hunted by someone who knew Rayanne's past. Can we outrun him? She asked. Rayanne started pressing buttons, flipping switches. Maybe if we cut through the asteroid field. Nearby, that's suicide. Only if we're unlucky, he said with a small smirk as they flew into the field. Rocks the size of houses floated all around. The ship shook as one hit the side. Rayanne shouted, Hold on! Rail tightly. Outside the window, the bounty hunter's ship followed fast, sharp, and armed, their locking weapons. She screamed. Rayanne spun the ship hard. Lights flickered. Suddenly he turned to her. I need you to take the left controls. She froze. What? You said you were trained? Prove it. She took a deep breath and nodded. Her hands reached the console. Her fingers moved fast, like she remembered from long ago. She fired a flare into the field. One of the asteroids exploded in front of the hunter's ship. Rayanne turned hard. The enemy's ship slammed into debris. They escaped. Silence filled the cabin. Both of them were breathing hard. Rayan looked at her, eyes wide. "Where did you learn that move?" She smiled just a little. "My people were warriors, before we were slaves." He'd stared at her for a long second. "You're more than they said you were." She looked back out the window. For the first time in her life, she felt proud. But deep inside, a question burned. Who was she before slavery? And why did Rayan, this human, seem to care so much? Asterisk, the stars moved like fireflies in the black sky as the small ship flew through space, fast and quiet. But they were not alone. Behind them, a shadow followed. A dark ship twice as large, 3 times faster. It was the bounty hunter. He hadn't given up. Rayan sat in the pilot's seat, eyes locked on the screen. "She's back," he said in a low voice. The girl, still without a name, stood beside him. Her heart beat faster with every beep from the radar. "Same bounty hunter?" she asked. Rayan nodded. "Zura, cold, smart, never misses twice." The girl swallowed hard. "Is it me she wants now?" Rayan shook his head. "Still me. But you're with me now? That makes you a target too." She looked away. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "I didn't either," Rayan replied. "But here we are." He turned on the ship's cloak for a moment to hide from scanners, but it only lasted a few minutes. The tech was old. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To the edge of the Dareth Belt," he said. "If we can reach it, we might lose her inside the dust storm." She didn't ask questions. She sat quietly beside him, watching the stars blur past. But then, a sudden boom shook the ship. Red lights flashed. "We've been hit," Rayan shouted. Sparks flew from the control panel. Smoke filled the cockpit. "She disabled the engine," the girl said. Rayan pulled a lever. "Backup thrusters still work, we can glide, but not fast enough to escape," the girl added. Rayan looked at her, something serious in his eyes. "I need you to hide again," she said quickly. "This is not your fight," he replied. She stood tall. "It is now." For the first time, he saw something different in her strength. Not from anger, but from choice. The ship shook. Again, Zura had docked. Metal claws from her ship grabbed. Rayan's, a loud crashing noise, echoed through the hallway. "There. Boarding," the girl shouted. Rayan handed her a small shock blade. "Take this. Use only if you must." She held it tight. They stood together in the main hallway, facing the sealed airlock door footsteps. Shadows moved behind the glass. Then the door exploded open. 3 armored figures stormed in. Rayan fired first, hitting one directly in the chest. The body flew back. The girl moved like a whisper, quiet but sharp. She sliced the second attacker's leg, then rolled under his arm. Before striking again, he fell. The third attacker grabbed her from behind. She screamed. Rayan aimed but couldn't shoot without risking her. But before he fired, she leaned forward and slammed her head backward into the attacker's face. Crack. He let go. She turned and drove the blade into his chest. Silence. All 3 were down. She was shaking. Rayan placed his hand on her shoulder. "You fought like someone who remembers who they are." She looked up. "I don't yet, but I'm starting." 2. Suddenly a voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Smooth, cold, female. "Well done, human. You're still hard to kill." Rayan's face turned hard. "Zura," her voice continued, "but you forgot one thing. I never come alone." On the radar, 3 more ships appeared. The girl gasped. "Can't fight all of them." Rayan's hands moved quickly across the controls. "We won't." He turned on the emergency warp coil, unstable device he hadn't used in years. "You said this could blow up the ship," the girl shouted. "It might," he said. "But it's better than becoming property again." The engines screamed. The ship shook. Outside, Zura's voice shouted, "You try to jump, you'll die." Rayan gritted his teeth. The girl reached for his hand. "I trust you." The ship vanished into the stars with a sudden flash of blue light. No trail, no trace, just silence. They landed hours later on a broken, icy moon. Systems were dead. No power, no comms. But they were alive barely. The girl looked out the window. Where are we? Rayan coughed. Somewhere off the maps. But we're safe for now. She stared at the white ice. Nothing around, no cities, no people, just cold and quiet. She looked back at Rayan. His wound had opened again. He was bleeding badly. She ran to get the medkit, but it was empty now. Panic filled her. No, no, stay with me, she whispered. He smiled weakly. You're free now, he said. Run, don't waste time on me. She shook her head. No. And then tears in her eyes, she whispered something, my name. I remember it. He blinked slowly. Say it. She touched his face. Lyra, she said. My name is Lyra. The moon was silent. White snow covered everything. Rayan lay still on the cold floor of the ship. Blood soaked his shirt. His breathing was weak. Lyra sat beside him, pressing cloth to his side, but the med kit was empty, and there was no help coming. She had a choice now. Run. Or fight for the man who never gave up on her. Her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. You saved me when no one else would. Rayan's lips moved slightly. You're free now. Go. She shook her head. Freedom without purpose is still a cage, and she stood up. Walked to the back of the ship, opened a panel on the wall. Inside were old tools, scraps, wires. She began working fast. Rayan watched, confused and amazed. Now where did you learn? I was born on a tech world, before the war, before the cages. She built a small energy pack, using parts from the ship's broken systems. Then connected it to a portable heater and patched it into the medical scanner. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Rayan's vitals slowly stabilized. You're not just a warrior, he said weakly. She gave a faint smile. I was a scientist's daughter once. Later, she stepped outside the ship. Cold wind hit her face. But she didn't feel weak anymore. She felt awake. She walked across the frozen land, scanning for life, for heat, for anything. After hours, she found a strange rock formation with a cave entrance. Inside, old markings covered the wall's symbols from her own people's language. She placed her hand on the stone. Light blinked. A machine woke. A hidden console rose from the ground. It spoke in her native tongue. Royal blood confirmed. Identity Lyra, daughter of House Viren. Her knees nearly buckled. She wasn't just anyone. She wasn't a worker, a slave, a mistake. She was royalty. Suddenly, a hologram appeared in front of her. It showed her mother. Lyra gasped. The image spoke. If you are hearing this, our home is gone. But the blood of our house must survive. This base is yours. Use it. Protect those who protect you. She wiped a tear from her cheek. I will. At the ship, Rayan was sitting up now, eating slowly. You found something? He said when he saw her face. She nodded. I'm not who I thought I was, she whispered. He raised an eyebrow. I'm the last of a ruling bloodline. My people weren't just warriors or slaves. They were leaders. Rayan chuckled. I already knew you were different. She knelt beside him. But that doesn't make me better, she said. What makes me better? I used to kneel, he nodded. That's what matters. Suddenly, a noise echoed across the ship. A pulse, not from inside. But from above, Lyra ran to the scanner. Her face went pale. Zira's bounty ship had returned, but this time she had backup. 3 cruisers, full crew, armored units. Rayan tried to stand. We have to move. No, Lyra said calmly. They'll find us, he warned. I want them to, she answered. She led Rayan to the cave. He limped beside her, confused, when they entered. The console reactivated and scanned them both. Allies recognized. Base unlocked. Walls shifted. The cave opened into a vast chamber with old technology ships. Weapons, shields all forgotten by time. This is ancient tech, Rayan whispered. It's ours now, Lura said. Then she walked to a glowing platform, placed her hand on it. A battle suit rose from the floor, sleek, strong. Built for her bloodline, she stepped into it. The suit adjusted to her body, fitting like second skin. Lights came on. Power surged through her. Rayan stared in awe. You were never worthless, he said. She turned to him. And now they'll know that too. Outside, the enemy ships landed. Dozens of bounty hunters stepped onto the snow. Zura led them. Eyes cold. She's here, she said. The girl and the human. It's inside the base. Laura activated the ancient defense grid. Walls rose from the ground, turrets came online, and she walked out. In full armor, her eyes burning bright, the first soldier aimed a weapon at her. She raised her hand, and energy pulsed out. Knocking him back, Rayan stepped out beside her, a blaster in his hand. They stood, human and alien, side by side. Lura looked at the hunters. Loud and clear, she spoke. I am not your slave. I am not your property. I am Lura of Viren, and this moon is mine. Zura's face twisted. Kill her. Asterisk snow flew as the first blast hit the base wall. Zura's hunters fired non-stop. Trying to break through. Inside the ancient cave, Lyra stood calm. Her armor glowed with white-blue light. Symbols from her people's past lit up across the chest. Plate Rayan watched from behind, injured but alert. You sure about this? He asked. She nodded. I think I'm still that broken girl. Rayan smiled. Then give them something to fear. Outside, soldiers stormed the entrance. Lura moved fast, too fast. One raised his gun. She dodged left, slammed her fist into his chest. The armor cracked. He dropped. Another fired her shield, absorbed it. Then she launched forward and knocked him out cold. Zura watched from a distance. Her eyes narrowed. That's no ordinary armor, she whispered. She's activated the Viren core. Her second in command frowned. She was labeled as defective, worthless, Zura growled. Then, why is she winning? Inside, Rayan tried to keep the defense system running. Wires sparked, screens flickered. She bought us a few minutes, he whispered, but it won't last.
S.
Suddenly, the screen blinked red. ALERT. Hidden device detected. Rayan paused. A. Signal was coming from inside the base. He followed the trace. Into a storage room. There, buried under old tech, was a small black box. He opened it. Inside was a glass capsule with a strange silver object. As he lifted it, the ship's AI whispered, Viren Protocol, the last weapon. His eyes widened. Meanwhile, Lura stood on a snowy hill now, alone. Facing Zura and her elite hunters, Zura stepped forward. Well, look at you, she said. All dressed up, playing queen. I'm not playing, Lura replied. You're still a slave in your heart. Lura's voice turned colder. Not anymore. Zura smirked and raised her hand. 10 armored bounty hunters aimed at Lura fire. The sky lit up with red, but Lura raised her arms, and her suit released a powerful energy pulse, blinding and loud. The snow exploded around her when the smoke cleared. All 10 attackers were down alive but unconscious. Zura stepped back in shock. You've activated the soul core, she whispered. No, Lura said softly. I became it. At that moment, Rayan appeared behind her, limping, holding the silver object. What's that? Lyra asked. I found it inside the base. He said, Your people called it the last weapon. He handed it to her. It looked small, simple, a piece of metal, no buttons. No light, looks useless, she said. Rayan smiled. That's what they said about you too. She held it in her hands. For a second, nothing. Then it glowed, and memories hit her mind. Voices, her mother's voice. This weapon responds to only one thing, truth. Suddenly, her armor fused with the device. Her eyes flashed. The suit changed stronger. Brighter, alive. Zura stared in disbelief. No one's ever activated that. It's a myth. Lura walked forward. You called me worthless. You paid. 1 credit for me. You watched me beg, starve, crawl. She raised the weapon, now fully awakened. And now, I'm the weapon you fear. Zura turned and ran. But Lura didn't follow. She dropped the weapon to her side. I don't need to kill you to win, she said quietly. You already lost. The snowstorm faded. Zura's ship fled into the sky. Lura stood still, powerful, free, but confused. What now? She asked. Rayan stepped beside her. Now, he said, you decide who you want to be, not what they made. You. She looked at the silver weapon in her hand, then dropped it in the snow. I'm not a weapon anymore. Rayan looked at her with pride. I didn't save you, Lura. You saved yourself. She smiled, then turned toward the stars. But just as they walked back to the base, the sky cracked open. A massive ship appeared above the clouds, dark, ancient, silent but alive. Rayan stared up. What is that? Lura's voice dropped. I think it's not here for you. He looked at her. Then for who? She replied, her voice shaking. For me. The sky cracked like glass. A massive alien ship hovered over the mountains. Dark metal, no sound. Just a deep humming that shook the ground. Rayan grabbed Lura's arm. Is that your people? Lura stared up, her face pale. No, she whispered. It's older than them. The ship began scanning the land, red beams sweeping across snow and stone. Then, one beam locked on Lura. Inside the base, alarm screamed. Rayan dragged her inside.
What does it want from you?
She didn't answer at first, but then she looked down at her armor. It woke up when I touched the soul weapon, she said now. It sees me as a threat. Rayan frowned. So it's not here to welcome you? No, she said softly. It's here to erase me. Outside, a bright orb descended from the giant ship. It floated in front of them. Then it spoke. Not with words, but with thoughts. Prototype 39. Unauthorized awakening detected. Return the core or face termination. Rahan stood in front of Lura. She's not going anywhere? The orb glowed brighter. Human life form, irrelevant. Lura pushed Rayan aside. No, she shouted. You want me? Take me, but leave him. The orb paused. Then it made a strange sound like laughter inside their heads. You misunderstand. The human is not irrelevant. It is the corruption that broke the design. Lura's heart pounded. What do you mean? Your bond with the human changed your code? You were built to obey?
Ow.
You resist. This is not acceptable. Stepped back, shocked. You were built. Lura looked down, eyes wide. I don't know. I thought I was born. Then the orb projected a memory into the sky. An image of a lab, machines, tanks, hundreds of beings. Like Luro sleeping in glass pods. A voice echoed. Weapon 39 shows emotional growth. Unstable. Recommend disposal. Rayan stared in horror. They made you to be a weapon. Lura shook her head.
No.
That's not who I am anymore. She stepped forward. I'm not your property, she said to the orb. I'm not a tool. The orb charged up. Refusal confirmed. Termination initiated. A beam fired toward Lura, but Rayan jumped in front of her. The blast hit him in the chest. He screamed and fell. Nitrogen monoxide. Lura cried, catching him. His body trembled. Burn marks on his jacket. He was breathing but barely. Lura's eyes glowed white-blue. Her armor pulsed like a storm. The soul weapon reactivated without her touching it. The orb paused again. Unexpected response detected. The core is unstable. Lura stood slowly, tears in her eyes, anger in her chest, its power in her soul. You hurt the only person who ever saw me as more than a slave. Her voice cracked with power. You made me a weapon. She raised her hand. Now feel what you created. The weapon flew to her palm, glowing white. She pointed it at the orband, released everything. A wave of pure light shot from her body, the weapon and the armor. It crashed into the orb, shattering it. The mothership above shook violently. Its red lights turned blue. Then, silence. The ship slowly rose into the clouds and disappeared. Lura collapsed beside Ariane, his eyes opened slightly.
You.
You saved me, she whispered. Even when I didn't know who I was. Rianne coughed a weak laugh. Well, you're definitely not worthless. Weeks later, they stood together on a green field far from snow. The war was over. The hunters were gone. Zura never returned, and Lura, she was free. Not a slave, not a weapon. Just person. The galaxy slowly began to hear her story. The last slave no one wanted, who became the first hero no one expected, and the human he didn't. Just save her. He changed everything.